Hey guys, Gary the Gremlin here, but I can't deal with that now because I must have died and gone to heaven. There are so many Hammond Collection figures out right now, and I am a happier man because of it. But it's also a bit sad, because after the Stegosaurus comes out, that's it on our Hammond Collection figures for the rest of the year. Best not to dwell on that, because today I want to dive on into the final assortment of small figures for this year, the Stygimoloch, the Tiger Raptor, and the Troodon. Before we get into it, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe because this is going to be one mega review. We've got 3 dinos to get through, so no time for any of that patented and pended Gary the Gremlin rambling. We're getting right into the meat of the review. We're going to go in order that the thumbnail says, the good, the bad, and the ugly. So first is this lovely little Stygimoloch. Stig first appeared in Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom and has become a franchise favorite of mine since then. I know, right? Big surprise. I regularly have extensive and rather vocal problems with the Jurassic World designs, and you will all be very relieved that you can rest your pitchforks and torches for this one. I love Styggy. He's just such a cute little guy. I actually really prefer this design over the Lost World Pachycephalosaurus design. It seems so much more lifelike and animalistic. Something about that Lost World one is uncanny. It really looks like a guy in a suit, which is funny because it isn't. They just proportioned it really heavy and posed it upright for no good reason. Styggy looks a lot better to me, especially with the really nice paintwork here. Compared next to older Hammond Collection figures, it seems crazy how much better this little fella looks, and hell, next to other figures in this wave, it seems crazy how much better this guy looks. We'll get to the Raptor. He'll have his time. I'll hold it. Point is, the patterning and layering of paint on this guy is really superb, especially here on his thigh, where you've got this light tan sprayed on the red, and then some dark brown squiggling in stripes on top of all that. I think this red color is a tad too much. I could be wrong, but I remember Stig being so much more orange. Possibly a light dry brushing of orange is in order here to make this guy perfect. The red still works for me, however. He stands out pretty nicely against the sea of blue, green, and gray that is my Jurassic World shelf. He's got some lovely little horns around his big old bald spot, which are made out of a rubbery plastic so that they don't poke your eye out, and they're painted very well. I love this brown wash that they regularly put on dinosaurs' horns, and I'm curious why they don't just put it on the bodies or the teeth more often. It'd look amazing and really just tie these things together detail-wise. He really is just bald. I've got nothing to say here, there's no detail to observe. He just really is he's a big bald baby. Good stuff. Unfortunately, that big old bald head of his weighs a metric butt-ton and makes him prone to falling over. A lot of the time I have to default to putting him in the uber dumb kangaroo pose because anything more than horizontal and he'll just lean forwards and crash over. Now, if you are the world's best YouTuber, which of course you cannot be because that presumptuous title belongs to moi, you would be able to futz with him for a moment to get it to work. But because I have clearly outlined that you are not the world's best YouTuber, you will not be able to. Should mention as well, I think he is a little too big. He's a nice size to hold and play with, but if you consider that in the movie he was only about as tall as Chris Pratt's waist, maybe a little bit taller, this toy is pretty oversized. Overall, he's just totally my favorite because he's a cute little guy. He's definitely the most unique out of all of these, which elevates him a bit, and the level of sculpting and detail plus the really intricate paint just elevates him so much more. If I could have any dinosaur as a pet, it'd probably be this little fella. But of course, since dinosaurs are all just a lie made up by museums to sell more tickets, that's impossible. Let's move on. I believe it was the great Jimmy Neutron's third law of motion that suggested that for every action there is an equal and opposite reaction. Call it karma, call it balance, call it the Force, trademark Star Wars. But for every good thing there's also usually a bad thing. I suppose the punishment for all of Stygimoloch's good action figure deeds is the Hammond Collection Lost World Velociraptor. Anyone else find it strange that the Lost World box gets a vague, generic Jurassic World logo while the Stiggy got the Fallen Kingdom logo? The Spino also got the right logo. Why not the Raptor? It's like they were barely trying with this figure, and it even extends all the way to the packaging design stage. The Lost World Jurassic Park Tiger Stripe Raptor is obviously the worst out of the three, and also maybe worst out of the line. It's not just the horrible Jay Leno similarity that brings him down, but everything else as well too. At first, when images of this leaked, I believed that it was just a straight reuse of the blue mold, but that seems wrong now. Taking an agonizingly painful in-depth look, my analysis has revealed to me that this is an even worse situation than our sources led us to believe. Remember the Atrociraptor? Well, if you don't, watch this video of mine, and come back quickly, mind you. The Atrociraptor, whose whole thing was being meaner and bulkier and larger than the usual Jurassic Park raptors, well, they reused the tail, feet, and shoulders from that mold. Huh? Like, right? I get reusing a part here and there, especially on such a similar dinosaur, but they reused parts from the Atrociraptor and not Blue. If that's not stupid enough for you, it can get stupider. So the body, the neck, the head, most of the legs, and the lower arms are new. In every instance, they are worse than these two previous raptors. The new legs and arms just seem less precise. The detail seems washed out and less crisp compared to her contemporaries. On top of that, the worst part is really the neck for me. This is a major step backwards in design and articulation. And I'm sure you've heard this from a bunch of places and seen it all over Twitter and Instagram and whatever other information stealing apps you use. But this chin is downright laughable. Who let them out of the factory looking like this? It's so ridiculously oversized and long, it's even noticeable when the jaw is open. Beyond all that, the colors are as usual wrong. I don't think Mattel has ever really seemed to get the Tiger Raptor color scheme down. This attempt I think is slightly better than the Amber Collection release, but really not by much. He desperately needs another shade of orange or yellow tossed in there to make it less flat. I think Mattel consistently misses that an aspect of the Tiger Raptor design is also some brown paint. In addition, the stripes are a touch too thick and too many. Combine that with how the tan doesn't extend past his dino groin, and you've just got a paint job that looks incomplete. This one's not just bad to me, it's also very sad. I love the Lost World Raptors, and it's a shame to see them not done justice. My favorite part of the Lost World is that fantastic gag where the party moves through the long grass and the raptors hunt after them, carving their own trails. It's such a fun shot. But now that I think about it, raptors also have a major part to play in the absolutely worst scene in that movie. Maybe this bad figure is deserved. The only one left is the Ugly, so let's talk about the confusing decisions behind this pseudo Telltale Jurassic Park the game Troodon. I don't dislike this figure. In fact, I'd say the opposite. I like this figure. At this point, I don't know why I started by saying I don't dislike the figure when I knew I was going to tell you that I liked it. Troodon or Troodon? Troodon is a very famous dinosaur, being speculated to have one of the largest dinosaur brains. Troodon is also speculated to have never existed, but as that's entirely detrimental to the first point, we'll let it rest for now. Troodon's appearances in the Jurassic Park/World mythos has two major defining moments. Number one is the xenomorph-esque nightmare goblins from Telltale's Jurassic Park the game. This iteration is very famous for their blind-looking eyes, small size, and the whole messy, icky process of laying their eggs inside a living person. I did say xenomorph-esque. The second major appearance is the Jurassic World Evolution series, which has a Troodon which is decidedly less gremlin-y, much larger, and just generally normal looking. They do still have a very painful, venomous bite, though there's none of that nonsense about laying eggs in nobody. The Hammond Collection Troodon seems to be a very confused bastard child between these two designs. Sorry, I guess it's rude to call it a bastard. I have no idea if he was born out of a wedlock, and it's probably rude to assume. The short and skinny is that he is no longer short, but he is still skinny. This toy matches the proportions of the evolution design, but only half-heartedly follows the color scheme of the game design? The game ones were very red, but also noticeably only ever red on the underbelly. This toy is orange, but only on the back and the snout. Maybe someone got confused and all the orange paint that needed to be on Stiggy went here by accident. To be honest, it looks like as if someone was trying to draw a Troodon from memory, except all they're used to drawing is more normal ornithomimids. So they ended up with this weird thing that looks like a Struthiomimus with Troodon's features just plastered on it. Unironically, I feel like this looks more like the Ornithomimus from Prehistoric Planet than either of these two Troodon designs. This hurts a bit, as someone who personally really enjoys both of the established Troodon designs, that they couldn't just settle their minds on either and gave us this mishmash in between. If I wanted chocolate milk and my friend wanted orange juice, the solution shouldn't be to mix them together and chug it on down, but it seems that that's what Mattel decided was best here. The figure itself is really not bad at all. There's some really good articulation and the joints are all nice and tight. I really love how the eye has been detailed and painted, and for what it's worth, I'm also a fan of this black fade around the ankles. It looks really sweet. And I mentioned this earlier, but the funny thing about these three choices for figures is that none of them really exist. We all know the story by now about how the Jurassic Park velociraptors are a strange upscale and bastardization of a Deinonychus, but neither Troodon nor Stygimoloch are valid species anymore. Troodon, I think, is still up in the air a little bit, but I think most paleontologists are just straying away from using that name because it seems incorrect. What we call Troodon may actually be someone hold my hand while I say this, Stenonychosaurus? That wasn't hard. What we call Troodon may actually be just a Stenonychosaurus, a oh my god. The species we call Troodon may actually be any of these three dinosaurs, which, fun fact, have the hardest to pronounce names ever. For sure, however, Stygimoloch is not a valid genus. They've even taken him off Wikipedia. The page will just redirect you to Pachycephalosaurus. Yeah, Stiggy seems to have been a whole nother Nanotyrannus situation, where scientists name a new species that turns out to just be a baby of an already named genus. It's not even the first time for Pachycephalosaurus. Both Stygimoloch and Dracorax have been determined to just be growth stages along the path to becoming a happy, healthy bonehead. There's your little history lesson for the review. None of these dinosaurs existed. Whatever. Overall, this lot's kind of a mixed bag. Each figure does have at least one small tiny flaw that could be fixed. Some have bigger flaws. And the Raptor, well, he probably should have just stayed home. I'd 100% suggest getting yourself a Hammond Collection Stygimoloch. This toy is great. Troodon, I like, but only get him if you're okay with the design. For the Raptor, I genuinely think best case scenario for getting this guy is waiting to buy him until he shelf warms a bit, and then he'll drop to like maybe 20% off on clearance, and then he's probably worth it. I'm Gary the Gremlin, and as always, thank you so much for watching. If you want to help the channel out in a major way, do consider becoming a member. But if you want to help me out in a really simple way, just like, comment, and subscribe, and share this video with a friend. We've gained 10,000 followers in the last month, which is beyond crazy. And the next goal is 30,000 before the end of the summer. Again, thank you all for watching. Make sure to check out the channel as well as my community tab to post your own dinosaur toy photography, drawings, or memes. We have a good old time over there. It's great. Alright, until next time, Gary the Gremlin, out.